Hello folks, welcome back to the channel, and in this video today I'm going to check out quad views in MSFS 2024 Beta 2. Sim Update Beta 2 that is. In the original Pimax Crystal it's back on the channel again because this has eye tracking. So what that feasibly should hopefully do is give us a really good boost in performance. So I've got CapFrame X running just over there, and we're going to test it with and without quad view support. Now, if you've no idea what I'm talking about, which is fair enough because it is a bit, technical, in essence, wherever I look with my eyes is going to give me the native resolution of this headset. But not only that, it's going to provide the best visual fidelity. So all the shadows and the reflections are all going to be there wherever I look. But in my peripheral vision, that's going to be rendered in a much lower quality. This is a lot more aggressive than, say, fixed foveated rendering, which will give you about 6 frames per second more, maybe a bit more, maybe 8 tops. But DFR should give me at least 10-15 frames per second more. That's a huge deal in VR, as you know. So also, before we get into this, you might notice that my camera, well, I look a bit different. Well, first of all, that's because I haven't had a shave, and apologies for that. I do look a bit rough today. But I'm using a new webcam. Now, I'm just going to quickly mention this. This is not sponsored in any way, but Ozbot did send me this, completely just to try out. I didn't have to make a video. This is their Ozbot Meet SE. It's a very modern and sleek new webcam with AI features. That's right, folks, because you know what? AI is becoming bigger and bigger, of course. And this particular camera has AI auto framing and gesture control, which I'm going to show in a minute. Very clever. And it delivers really nice visuals, actually. Even though this particular camera is only 1080p, I think it can deliver up to 100 frames per second in exceptionally low light conditions. And my man cave is always dimly lit, okay? And I haven't got anything on my face right now in terms, well, I've got the monitor, but that's it. And it's lighting up my face really well. So let me know in the comments below, what do you think about this new webcam? Because I'm possibly going to be using this as my main webcam going forward. But I must admit, I am very impressed with it. I think it's $79 outside of America. But as I say, you do get that very clever AI sort of feature set. Like, look at this. If I do this, look. You don't want to see me that close, but I just thought I'd show you that. Very clever. You can even put makeup on your face if you so desire. You can make your eyes look bigger. I guess it's quite useful for some of the other content creators out there. But for me, it's not going to make me look any better, so I'm going to leave it. But it is very clever, the suite of different effects you have with this camera. So I will have a link in the description below. I know, folks, this sounds very sponsory. I promise you I'm not getting paid to say this at all. I don't need to say this at all. I'm just saying this because I'm impressed with the camera. And the one I've also got a very nice tripod with it, so I can showcase my motion rig in a lot more detail as well. So there we are. That is the Ozbot Meet SE camera. But anyway, let's now jump into the sim and see what it's like. Here we go then. So I've got to say, right, first of all, this is the first time I've used the Crystal in a long time. And it's now changing the IPD, and I've got to say the eye tracking is working really well in the Crystal these days. I remember when I was first testing it out back in the day, but now that it's a mature headset, the eye tracking this is very, very good. Right, so first of all, I'm running TAA mode at full native resolution of the Crystal. To put that into context, okay, let's just take foveated rendering off first. This is the kind of performance we're going to get without foveated rendering. Here we go. Right, so we're down to 34 frames per second. One thing I have noticed straight away, actually, is this camera is definitely sapping some performance because of the AI features on it. So that's one thing to bear in mind, because before, when I was testing this, I was getting a bit more. I was getting 38 frames per second. So I'm down by about 4 or 5 frames per second. But yeah, 32 frames per second now. This is without quad views, okay? I'm now going to add in quad views. So basically, all I need to do, because it should work out of the box. Do you know, I hate how the VR graphics menu is separate. It's annoying. Let's add in foveated rendering now. And here we go. Right then, folks, so welcome back. I think we're now using quad views, but to be honest, the performance is underwhelming at the moment for me. I was expecting a lot bigger jump in performance. I just tried it with the camera off and I was getting nearly 50 frames per second. But with the camera on in OBS, yeah, we're like 39, 40 frames per second here. So that's not a massive boost in performance, really, is it? And I'm looking to see if quad views is working by sort of looking around my eyes and seeing if I can notice any difference in my peripheral vision. And yeah, it's very hard to tell it's actually working or not. But I've noticed when I go to the menu, you won't see this, but I suddenly get a box appear. And I see like it's quite a large box, which is obviously following my eyes. Maybe if they can make that a bit smaller, you'd get better gains in performance. So I need to think about this as well from that point of view. I am running an incredibly high resolution here, and there's no way in MSFS 2024 I'd be able to do this before. In 2020 I could, but not in 2024. Let's just turn that bloody music off for a minute because it's really annoying. Just turn that off. There we go. And let's just have a quick look again. Right, let's just go and take foveated rendering off again. And let's just have a look at the performance difference one more time. So, at the moment, right, down to 29 frames per second. Okay, this is interesting. 28, 29. Now that I'm closer to this terrain, that's making a big difference. 28, 27. Let's call it 28, 29 frames per second, okay? And let's just quickly go back in here again. Because all you need in the Pimax Play now is eye tracking enabled. You don't need to enable quad views. That's interjected into the sim itself. It's part of the sim now. Now we're getting 37, 38 frames. So, okay, we can definitely deduct that it's a 10 frames per second uplift. Maybe a little bit more. 40 frames per second now. So between 10 and 12 frames per second more in TAA mode. That's TAA, full native resolution of the Pimax Crystal, which is massive. Massive resolution. But I admit, I was expecting more than this, because in DCS World, the uplift is a lot larger than this. And this is still in beta, okay, so bear that in mind as well. I can't really see, I can't tell that we're using eye-tracked foveated rendering. Right, I'm looking around as much as possible. Right, I'm going to do something now, guys. It won't look very nice on the image, sorry, but I'm going to shake my head. Yeah, I can slightly see it. And if I move my eyes, yeah, but I have to be really see. I think it's because the sharpness, the area of focus is very large. If they can make that a bit smaller, I think we'll get better gains in performance here. But this, I mean, if it's going to be like this and no better, this isn't such bad news for people who have bought a headset with no eye tracking. Because fixed foveated rendering is already giving me about 5 to 6 frames per second more. Quad views is only giving me an extra, say, probably 5 frames per second maximum on top of that. Which isn't a massive deal right now, is it? That's not a huge deal. Let's now try DLSS 4, okay? And then we'll call it quits, because this is just a quick sort of first impressions video, folks. So we'll go for DLSS. We'll go for balanced. Whoops, I always go the wrong way. Balance there. These are my settings, by the way, which I think, you know, I think you'll agree are very high, actually. We'll now switch off foveated rendering with eye tracking, supposedly. So we're now getting 48 frames per second, which is very, very good. Of course, this feels a lot smoother now. This feels nice. And that's without any foveated rendering at all. Nearly 50 frames per second here. So feasibly, with quad views enabled, we should get it 60 frames per second. Let's see. Let's stabilize. No, we're not. We're only getting 50 frames per second. Yeah, I'm not sure this is working correctly, to be honest, guys. Oh, hang on a minute. I did actually see something there. As I moved my head then, I noticed something. Ever so slightly. Then I looked at it and it went. So there is something going on. It is working, but it's not working like really, really well. Like, it's not giving me the boost in performance that I was expecting so far. However, it's still very, very welcome addition. Now what I'm going to try is I'm going to take eye tracking off the Pimax Crystal and just use foveated rendering to see the difference in performance there without eye tracking. So yeah, I am. Yeah, it's kind of stabilizing. I'm definitely getting, well, you know, a nice steady 50 frames per second and more, 52 frames per second. Versus, I just noticed then the box. I'm not sure if you saw that on the camera. I know this is going to be a bit of an annoying video, guys, because I'm basically just sharing my sort of raw impressions of how it's working. There's hardly any difference in performance with DLSS 4. I think it's only really making a difference when you're taxing the computer and running TAA mode. Foveated rendering back on, TAA mode. So yeah, my conclusion so far, folks, is quad views is only really making a big difference when you're taxing the computer with high resolution in TAA mode. That way, I'm getting easily 10 to 12 frames per second more. Let's now try it without eye tracking, okay? Let's just try the foveated rendering aspect. Then we'll get an idea of what quad views is actually doing. I'll see you in a minute. Right, folks, we're now just using foveated rendering, and I know we are because the shape has changed. You see it briefly when you change into the menu. It kind of flashes up, and it now looks different. So at least I know it's actually working. Let's just take foveated rendering off completely. And this time we're just using fixed foveated rendering. Right, we're back now to the usual 28, 29 frames per second. We're jumping up to 30 frames per second a bit here. But, okay. So let's say 30 frames per second. Now, if this jumps to 40 frames per second, I'm confused. It shouldn't jump up that high. Let's see. Okay, it's close, but it's not quite. So basically, at the moment, oh, it is close, isn't it? Quad views is you're only getting about 2 or 3 frames per second more with quad views at the moment. Probably a bit more, maybe 5 frames per second tops. So I don't think, to me, that's, if I compare that to DCS World, it's a massive difference in performance. But please remember, I'm no expert on this. I'm just basically sharing with you the sort of progress so far with the beta. But quad views, I think, should be a lot bigger performance difference than this. And I know it's working because I can see the box very briefly when I switched the menu. So I guess really depending, like I said before, if this isn't going to get much better, which I hope it is, I think fixed foveated rendering is definitely something that you can enjoy right now with any VR headset, and maybe eye tracking isn't such a big deal as I thought it would be in MSFS. It certainly is in DCS World. But there we are, folks. That's my thoughts at the moment. I'm sure things will change. and things will get better. I did tell you that I would keep you updated with the beta and the progress they're making. At least it's working now, but the performance is very lackluster at the moment. I don't think I even need to go anywhere else here. I think this shows the performance difference at the moment. But I must admit, looking at these glass cockpits now with full native resolution TAA mode, I do prefer this over DLSS 4 still. Just for this sort of thing when you're really looking at the cockpit gauges. But for now folks, that will do. Thanks for watching. I'll see you again very soon. Bye bye for now. It is beautiful around here, isn't it? Absolutely stunning. We're now getting 43, 44 frames per second. So it is wavering quite a bit. And at this same point, with fixed Foveated rendering, I was getting 37, 38. So there is a difference. It's just not what I expected. I expected more. What do you think, folks? Let me know in the comments below. Anyway, I'm definitely going now. Cheerio.